Hey TPT sellers, let's talk about how long it takes to see results when we do TPT SEO. My name is Mike Fuchigami. I'm the host of the SEOTpreneur YouTube community. I just got back from TPT Forward 2024 in San Diego, which was awesome. Last Sunday, I recorded a TPT SEO video, but I didn't get it out the door because I was a little bit confused by the results that I was seeing. So today's episode is about how long it takes to see the results of your TPT SEO effort. We'll look at an experiment that I've been doing for the last week and dive into the theory behind the TPT SEO search engine. Sometimes I found that changes I make to a TPT product will be reflected in the search engine in under an hour. And sometimes it seems to take over 2 days or 48 hours. Let's look at an example for both. One time I removed the keywords from the title. This was back in April 12th, 2024. I had my TPT Seller Ultimate Bundle, and at 7:14, I replaced TPT Seller Tips and Tricks with the word TEAcherpreneur, and in 45 minutes, the resource completely disappeared from the TPT Seller search term. One of the key takeaways I got from TPT Forward this year was that you can undo changes that you make to your TPT products. I removed TPT Seller and I disappear from TPT Search. Well, no problem. I just put TPT Seller back into the title and I appear back in the search. I think sometimes we get a little bit scared to tinker around with our TPT products because we don't want to mess things up. But if we keep a record of the changes we make, we can undo these things. If you want to see that example where I removed keywords from the title and it disappeared in under an hour, go check out the TPT SEO thoughts from April 12th, 2024. By the way, I did try removing keywords from the title this week and I got the same results. Removing the keywords from the title seems to remove it from the search index within an hour. But I've also had the experience where I've made a change to my TPT product and it took over 48 hours to see a difference in TPT search. One example is I made a price change. This was back on May 1st and it took 2 days until May 3rd, 2024 before this unlimited TPT SEO keyword search tool TPT Seller Tip number 10 appeared before the Ultimate Bundle. Basically what I did was I took a resource and I made it much more expensive than the Ultimate Bundle. And that one change took over 48 hours to be reflected in the search index. And then as predicted, it ranked higher than my Ultimate Bundle for the keyword TPT Seller. And that's because the earning potential of a resource is considered by the TPT search algorithm. So if you want to see more detailed information about that, check out the TPT SEO thought video from May 2nd, 2024. I'm talking about this because there's a difference between the theory and the reality for TPT SEO. We can talk about the theory as much as we want because we have discovered the TPT SEO search manual. We have the recipes used by Team TPT to power their search engine. They're going to add some secret spices and change some of the ingredients maybe, but we have the base idea of how TPT search works. But the reality can be very different from the theory. And this is where your lived experience and my lived experience, we sort of combine them together. We share perspectives, we share stories, we share observations, and we try to figure out how the search engine is actually implemented. It's important to recognize that as TPT sellers, you and I may not always be able to detect a change. It doesn't mean that a change didn't happen. It just means that for us, in our example, we weren't able to see that change. So let's look at a hypothetical example where there's a keyword that has 10 results and another keyword that has 10,000 results for the competition. And let's pretend that there's a 10% improvement based on some TPT SEO strategy that we use, like the one that we talk about today. If you only have 10 results, well, a 10% lift would be 1 rank position. Whereas if you have 10,000 results, then a 10% lift would be 1,000 rank positions. If we have a product on rank 5 in the first case and rank 5,000 in the second case, and then we do this TPT SEO strategy based on the theory, well, in the first example where there are only a couple of results, we might go from rank 5 to rank 4, and then, well, it's only 1 position that changed. Maybe that's because of noise, maybe that's because of a competitor, maybe that's because of something else. But if we have a lot more results, like 10,000 results, and we go from rank 5,000 to rank 4,000, it's easier to detect that change. So your lived experience and my lived experience will differ based on where we are with our TPT product and our TPT journeys. It's important to realize that TPT SEO isn't really about being right or wrong. It's more about why did we get the results that we get, or when did you see these results happen, because the formula is constantly changing. For example, recently, TPT quietly updated their search algorithm so it doesn't count our page views anymore. And that significantly changes our conversion rates for the better, because now we know how our products are actually converting as opposed to numbers being changed because we're constantly visiting the page and then our visits impact the search numbers. So when we observe things is just as important as us trying to figure out why we observe things. Ultimately, the end of the game is to figure out how the TPT search engine works, because if we understand the rules of the game, then we can try to optimize our resources to try to do better. Think of it this way. If you give a rubric for an assignment to students, it gives them a better chance to do well on that assignment. It doesn't guarantee them a perfect score. Just because they have the rubric doesn't mean they'll be able to cheat and get a perfect score. But the rubric helps them optimize their work to do better in that class. Likewise, if we understand how TPT search works, then we can do a better job of optimizing our TPT products so that our products show up in TPT search when teachers are looking for a solution to their pain, and then we're there at the right time to provide a great solution that makes their teaching life easier and improves the learning for students. That's the end goal, improving the learning. TPT SEO is about getting our awesome resources to the teachers who need them. Last Sunday, I recorded a video and the experiment didn't turn out the way I thought it would. And then I went to TPT Forward, and from the conference one morning, I recorded a video about how I needed help from the YouTube community. It was awesome because I got some replies that made me think. So thanks to Geography Songs, they observed that the rankings only change every few days now. There's no point checking the rankings every few hours, as the results only shuffle 1 or 2 times per week. So for me, this confirmed the observation that sometimes changes take 48 hours or more to be reflected in the search index. Now they're saying that rankings only change every few days now. I've had the experience where I can change the ranking of a product in 1 hour. So I invite all of you to try this crazy experiment where you remove a keyword from the title and then you see how that affects your TPT search position for that keyword. My guess is you'll experience something similar to me, which is that within an hour, removing the keywords from the title drastically makes your search position worse. And then once you try that experiment, just add the keywords back into the title. Geography Songs shared their observation that keyword order doesn't matter, and only that the search terms a customer searches for needs to be within a certain character limit in order for multiple keywords to be considered an exact match. Then AdMonk added their observation, which is that they found the order of the words within a keyword phrase matters more than the position of the keyword phrase, whether it's at the front or at the end. And AdMonk, I think I agree with that observation that the position may not be a big influencer. But either way, we can look at Geography Songs observations and AdMonk's observations using the 8 criteria that the Algolia search engine uses. Algolia is the search engine software that TPT Search uses. So this observation by Geography Songs that what really matters is having the keywords in the title, regardless of order, that comes down to rule number 3. The closer you are to the top of the rule set, rule 1, rule 2, rule 3, those rules have a bigger impact on search than rules 4, 5, and 6, or 7 and 8, because there's a tie-breaking algorithm. And so you want to make sure that you're in the first group of that tiebreaker. Watch episode 1 with the typos. I explain more about the tiebreaker algorithm there. Rule 3 is about the number of words, and this explains Geography Songs observations that the bigger impact on TPT SEO is having those keywords in the title and matching the number of words in the key phrase, as opposed to the keyword order. So number of words is a bigger influencer than rule number 5, which is proximity. And proximity is word proximity or word order. And this is the observation that AdMonk had, which is that the order of the words, so if you have math worksheets, if math worksheets are close together in that order, they'll have a higher proximity score than worksheets math. And I explained more in that episode about rule 5. So the real question in today's episode is whether the position of the keyword phrase matters. So the question is, do we get an advantage by putting the keywords at the front of the title Or does the position of the keywords in the title not matter? And the Algolia Search Manual talks about this in their attributes section. Last Sunday, I recorded this video where I thought that putting the keyword phrase at the front of the title would have a big effect on TPT SEO. But at the end, when I looked at the results, that wasn't the case. I think there's still value in watching what I recorded. And so as we watch this draft video from last week, the question is, why is this right or wrong? When is this right or wrong? Or how is this information right or wrong? And that's what I think we need to do as TPT sellers as we get information about search, whether it's from the SEOTpreneur channel or whether it's from other TPT sources. We're constantly playing this game of trying to figure out why or when or how is this information correct or incorrect under your circumstances. So let's check out the video and I'll add my comments here and there. I was so confident that the experiment would show a TPT SEO boost within the first 15 minutes or an hour, but I haven't been able to get those results yet. It doesn't mean that position isn't a ranking factor yet. It just means I haven't seen it. I'd be curious to hear what you've seen. Now I'm thinking the search algorithm takes about 15 minutes to an hour to update the titles, and the titles are the most important things in TPT search, and therefore the position within the title doesn't matter. At the end of this video, you'll see that the position ranking went from 15 to 16. And so is that change just random? Or is that change because I moved the position of the keywords? And then you're going to say, well, Mike, what happens when you move them back? All right, well, watch till the end of the video to find out this tool that I'm working on to help us make those observations. Let's keep on watching the theory. Here we go. Let's look at what the developer manual for the TPT SEO search engine says. They use the search engine software made by Algolia. We know that there are 8 rules that Algolia applies in order to find the most relevant results when a teacher searches on TPT. The first rule is typo. It looks for spelling variants and how closely words in the title match the search phrase that the teacher used. The second rule is geolocation, which is not currently used. The third rule looks at the number of words that the teacher buyer is looking for and how many words match in your product title. The fourth rule are filters, which basically means categories like grade, subject, resource type, curriculum expectation. The fifth rule is proximity. We talked about this last Sunday, and we worked through a couple of examples where we look to see how close the words are in your title compared to the word order that the teacher searched up. Today, we're going to talk about attribute. We're going to look at which attributes in our TPT products are actually searched by the TPT search engine. If it's not a searchable attribute, then it has 0 impact on TPT search. This episode is for TPT tadpoles, TPT hamsters, and TPT hawks, because if we are strategic in how we use keywords in our products, if we optimize the keywords so that our product has the best chance of ranking for those carefully selected keywords, then we get more eyeballs and then we get more sales. So what's an attribute? The Algolia manual says this criterion only considers searchable attributes. Searchable attributes is the name of the setting. Attributes at the top of the searchable attributes list rank higher than lower ones. So what's an attribute? When I look at the Algolia manual, it says that it's a list of strings. And strings are variables where you can basically type in information. It's user-generated information typed in by the TPT seller at some point. When I look at the TPT product editor, a string would be something like the title, because you type in the name of your product. Another string would be the description, because you describe your product and how it can be helpful to another educator. Another string would be the price, because you type in a value. And then another place where you type in information is the number of pages or slides. Some people type 15 pages, but there's one more string that we don't often think about, and those are the comments and reviews that get left on our product, because this is user-generated content. My students love this resource, easy to integrate into therapy. So that's something that the teacher buyer typed. But then as TPT sellers, we can type responses and we can SEO optimize our responses as well if reviews are part of the searchable attributes. So the question that Team TPT has to figure out is which of these variables actually contain relevant information that helps the search engine find relevant products to show to the teacher buyer, and which one is just noise. For example, when teachers are searching up resources, they're not typing in price. So even though price is a string, I don't think it's being searched by the TPT search index. From a relevance perspective, in terms of the search engine trying to find resources that match what the TPT seller is searching for, price does not have an impact. So where does price impact the search experience? Probably at step number 4, when you can set categories like search for resources under $5. I'm also going to guess that the space where we type in the number of pages, I don't think that's being looked at by the search engine. I think that would just introduce noise into the search and you'd find a lot of irrelevant resources. Like if you were looking up 3rd grade and then you pulled up all the resources that had 3, that's not really relevant to 3rd grade. So number of pages is probably out. The next question is, which of these string variables is the most important? Based on experiments, I know that the title is way more important than the product description. And I'll try to put the video up there. Description is probably second, but I've had experiences where I think I've put in keywords into the review and then I feel like I've gotten sales of that resource. And I can't tell whether that's part of the TPT store halo effect, which is this idea that when you work on your store, you get a store-wide boost of TPT SEO goodness on all of your products. Leave a comment below if you've ever left a review and you've gotten a sale somewhere in your store, or leave a comment if you've ever put keywords like the name of your product in your response to the teacher who left a review and then seen a sale of that resource later on. This is the beauty of the SEOTpreneur YouTube community, because sure, I'm crazy enough to do the experiments and click on something 200 times, but my experiments are informed by the kinds of comments you leave. So if you've learned something new so far, can you please like the video? Because the number of likes on a video sends a signal to me that, hey, Mike, you should make more videos like this one. The Algolia developer manual goes on to say that the order of matches within the attribute itself is also important. By default, records with matched words closer to the beginning of a given attribute rank higher. 2 months ago, a TPT seller in the YouTube community, @Matosirix, said the first word you use in the title, if it is ranking higher as a keyword, it will be higher in the search page. This TPT seller goes on to give an example. I found that I have a resource with a keyword that has 40,000 results after filtering for grade level. I changed it to bring a keyword from the title tail to its head with only 4,000 search results. It is now in the 8th page of 4,000 results after being in the 39th out of 40,000. So this comment makes me wonder about the impact of bringing a keyword from the end of the title, the tail of the keyword, to the front of your product title. So let's pause for a second. Originally, when I first read this comment, I was thinking that if you took the keyword from the tail of your title and brought it to the head of your title, that would create a boost. But then when I ran my experiment, I didn't see those results. So now what I'm thinking is that what @Matosirix observed was the result of 2 different keyword phrases. One has a couple of keywords at the beginning of the search phrase, and that produced only 4,000 competitors. And the other one has a couple of the keywords at the end of the keyword phrase, and that's producing 40,000 results. It's hard to say without knowing the exact keyword phrases that are being compared here. But I now wonder if this is more about changing the keyword phrase as opposed to keeping the same number of words in the same words, but just changing the position of the words. Let's keep watching for more of the theory, and we're still thinking about why is this right or wrong, or when is this right or wrong, or how could this be right or wrong? We know that the default setting in the TPT search engine is to favor matches at the beginning of an attribute, so close to the head of the product title. But Team TPT can change it to ignore positioning and consider any match within an attribute of equal importance. So that's why we're doing this experiment today. Just because the secret TPT search engine manual says that it automatically considers keywords at the front of the attribute more important than keywords at the end, it doesn't mean that's what TPT is actually doing. Remember, this is like a recipe. We have the recipe for the search engine, but we don't know the secret sauces or the extra ingredients that TPT might be adding into the mix. It's been about 15 minutes. So I'm going to go back to the search position tool. It was position 15 before. In order to force it to reload the information from the internet, I have to temporarily change the keyword. So I'm just going to delete the keyword, and that forces all of the results to red. And then I'm going to type TPT seller, and I'm looking to see if my position changed. And the answer is no, Mike, I have not changed after 15 minutes. I'm still at position 15. So I'm going to copy this, Control C. I'm going to go to my tracking page. It's 8:41 p.m. and I'm still in position 15. So the experiment continues. Other times I've done experiments with the title, I've seen changes within the hour. So let's continue with the lesson. And then at the end of the episode, we'll check to see how the experiment is doing. So far, we're talking about 3 variables: the title, the description, and the reviews. And what you and I have to do is figure out, is it likely, based on our lived experiences with putting up TPT products, have you noticed that putting the keyword at the beginning of the description makes a difference as opposed to the end of the description? So my guess right now is that yes, putting the keyword at the front of the title makes a bigger difference than putting it at the end. And we're going to test that out with the experiment today. And yes, probably putting the keyword at the front of your product description probably has a larger SEO boost than putting the keyword at the end of the description. It could be because we type in our product description, but then TPT creates a separate string variable with just our snippet. And that's the snippet that it shows on the front end in the search results. If you're part of the snippet, you're showing up on that first page and you're getting highlighted, and the order there probably matters. But does it matter if your keyword is at position 300 or position 1000 of your product description? I don't know. You'll have to chime in the comments whether you found a difference. Remember from last video that only the first 1,000 words in your product description are looked at by the search engine. Everything after 1,000 words has 0 impact on your TPT SEO, but it could still play in Google SEO. Finally, my guess is that the TPT search algorithm looks at reviews for keywords, but the location of the keywords, whether it's at the front of the review or at the end of the review, probably doesn't matter. Put it this way, TPT wants to find resources that are relevant to teachers. And we have to assume that the reviews that people leave are based on teacher experiences. So if they say this was a great resource for bell work, chances are the search algorithm wants that TPT product to rank a little bit higher for the search phrase bell work. And I don't think the search engine, when they're looking at reviews, that they're looking to see if the person who left the review is the author of the product. I think it's just looking at all of the reviews. So if you reply to the teacher buyer and say, hey, I love hearing that you use this resource for bell work. That's awesome. Now you've introduced that keyword into the reviews variable. This is called optimizing the chance that your product shows up for that keyword. Search engine optimization. This is what TPT SEO is all about. So TPT, as the chef in their kitchen, they decide what goes into their search engine. The Algolia e-commerce merchandising playbook says you should declare most of your searchable attributes as unordered, even though the default setting is ordered. And the playbook goes on to say this ensures that the position of a word within the attribute doesn't affect the ranking. And then they have an image. And in this image, they have examples of searchable attributes, categories, author, title, and brand. So product title we get, author is the name of the store. So maybe the name of our store could be a search engine ranking factor. What I found interesting here, though, is categories. So it looks like the search algorithm is looking at categories and not just the strings that we type up in the TPT product editor. So now we have to play a game called Guess the Attribute. Which attributes are getting searched by TPT? The Algolia developer manual gives some examples of attributes to include. The attributes that might apply in TPT land include name of the resource, description of the resource, brand, so that could be the store name, and then tags, for example, the grade level, the resource type, the categories, maybe even the custom categories. The Algolia manual also gives us examples of attributes to exclude. This is what the manual is recommending that TPT ignores. And it says the image name and other URLs are often excluded. It's possible to have a description for display and then a separate description for search purposes. I don't think that's happening here exactly because there's no field where we can type in keywords. That would just be too easy to spam. But what this tells me is it's possible that TPT takes our product description and truncates the first 300 words or however many characters and puts that as a separate searchable field called the introduction snippet. In fact, that's what I think TPT does. And then at the bottom, it says that some things are used for ranking only. For example, the most sales, the most viewed resources, the highest rated resources. We're on rule 6, which is searchable attributes. We're talking about which fields the search engine should look at. We're not talking about ranking yet. Ranking happens at rule number 8. Make sure you watch rule number 1 from several weeks ago, because we look at how Algolia uses a tie-breaking formula. So basically, you have to be in the first group for each of these tie-breaking sections, which means things like rating, or the number of reviews, or the total amount of earnings, or the number of units sold or downloaded. Those don't impact TPT SEO until the very end. Otherwise, if the number one factor was the amount sold, then every search term would pull up the exact same results with the best selling resource in position number 1 on search. And we don't see that happening. So most sales, most viewed, highest rated, all of those things that we worry about, all of those things that we complain that other sellers have been around forever and they have an unfair advantage, that only impacts us at the very end. We can still outcompete those resources based on keyword selection. I mean, they're also doing keyword selection, but this is why we need to look for high traffic, low volume keywords to go after. So I need your help trying to guess which attributes the TPT search engine looks at. I'll go through the list and you leave a comment with which attributes you think are the most important. Title, product file name, preview file name, cover file name, description, grades, subjects, resource type, them categories, standards, number of pages, reviews. Right off the bat, I'm going to take off the file names. Sometimes in TPT land, we've speculated that having the keywords in the file name is important. Yes, that's been talked about in Google search, but we see in the developer manual that they recommend excluding the image attribute. So let's get rid of the file name. Instead, I'm going to put introduction snippet as a separate attribute. Sure, the introduction snippet is part of the description, but the search engine doesn't load the entire description, and it'll be faster if the introduction snippet is already cut and ready for the search engine to load up, instead of having to truncate the description every time. That's my guess. Let's talk about custom categories. Based on the conversation so far, maybe the name of the custom category could be looked at by the TPT search engine. If you've had any lived experience with that, leave a comment below. But custom category descriptions have no SEO impact. Probably. And I say that because that extra description field that we're now able to type in helps the user experience see some of the features and benefits for the list of resources in that category. And it also helps with Google search. But the custom category description isn't in this list of searchable fields. It could be, don't get me wrong. The developers at Team TPT are good at their job. If they wanted the custom category descriptions to be part of this searchable field, they could have a hidden field that basically copies the custom category description into your product description. But that would be a nightmare for them to update, because the moment you updated your custom category description, it would have to spend server resources to go through all of the products with that category and copy the description into the product. And I can't see them wasting resources like that. So you heard it here first. The reason why custom category descriptions have zero impact on TPT SEO is because it's not a searchable field. It's not enough for us to talk about which attributes are searchable. We have to guess the order of priority. The Algolia developer manual gives this example for a recipe website. You could set the code so that the title and the comments have the same priority, or you could set the code so that the title has the highest priority, followed by ingredients in the recipe, followed by the comments. So Team TPT can shuffle the order of the attributes. I think from a user experience reason, there's a reason why we put the title and the product description first, and that's because that really matters. So my prediction is that the title has the most TPT SEO impact, and I've seen that in experiments. And then I think the introduction snippet, the part that gets loaded onto the search page. So if I type TPT seller, oh, I'm still here. The snippet is not just the part that you see here. This is my growing bundle of TPT seller tips and tricks. Get an unfair advantage by learning what to do instead of trying ... But if I look at the code by going right click, inspect. If I use the element selection tool and then select the snippet, I can see that there's more of my product description that's loaded here. It says 107 sellers have bought this resource so far. Buy it before the price goes up to $14. Fixed and now working again with the new TPT and then sellers truncated. So it doesn't load the entire product description. It loads a set amount, but not all of it is visible in our viewport on our screen. But if we go back to my prediction, I think the TPT search engine is looking at the title, the introduction snippet, and then I think the description and the reviews are tied. Because the reviews are a sneaky way to get an idea of how teachers are actually using your product. And I wouldn't be surprised if reviews actually rank just under the title. Because for the most part, TPT sellers can't game the reviews. That's based on the feedback from teacher buyers. On the other hand, now that you've watched this video, this makes it even more important to reply to the teacher buyer and in an authentic way, add in your keywords. I do that by putting the keywords in my title and then putting, hey, I love that you love this title, quote unquote title, resource. Thanks for coming back to leave a 5-star review, etc., etc., etc. So my question for you, which of the following do you think are searchable fields? The grades, subject, resource types, custom categories, the standards, number of pages. I'm going to guess that a lot of these are sorted in rule number 4, which looks at the categories. But I do now wonder if custom categories could be a 4th searchable field for the TPT SEO search. So what are the key takeaways for this? Number 1, put your keyword in your title. There may be an SEO benefit to putting it at the start of the title, but I haven't really detected that yet. But it is possible from a code perspective for TPT to prioritize keywords at the front of the title. Likewise, as we know, put your keywords into the snippet of your product description. TPT has the ability to prioritize keywords at the front of your snippet, but I haven't experimented with that yet. I'd be curious to hear your ideas. From a user experience perspective, if the keyword is at the beginning of your introduction snippet, it's more likely that the human teacher buyer scanning to search results will see that keyword. If it's too deep into the snippet, it may not show up on all devices. Obviously, put your keyword into your description, but there may be a TPT SEO benefit to putting your keyword into your replies. It is possible from a code perspective for TPT to prioritize keywords that are in your custom categories. Is it in the custom category? It's not in the custom category. And if you're in the first tie-breaking group, yes, it's in the custom category, then you'll be better positioned than if your TPT product is not in the custom categories. So all of these little things add up. Let's look at the experiment results. It's been almost an hour. Let's go back and look at the data science experiment results. And now I'm feeling a little bit nervous because maybe it's more than an hour and maybe I'm gonna have to wait. I've got to pack and get ready because we're going to TPT Forward tomorrow. So I don't want to stay up late waiting for this change to happen. I'm going to go to the keyword ranking page. I'm going to get rid of TPT seller to reset the search page. I'm going to type TPT seller to load up new results. And I'm still at position 15. Well, this is inconvenient. I'm going to copy this over to the tracking page. It's 9:09 p.m. The reason why I think most title changes should only take an hour to have a change on the search engine results is because at the end of the product page, underneath the submit button, it says, please allow up to 1 hour for new or edited products to appear in your store listings. And your store listings are part of the search engine. So I'm going to go pack and hopefully my TPT Seller Ultimate Bundle has a worse rank later on. All right, see you in a bit. It is 10:48, Sunday, July 7th. And yeah, when I go back to the keyword tool and I type in TPT Seller again, a little bit bummed because I'm still ranking at position 15, which means it's 10:49 p.m. and the position hasn't changed. One time I did one of these experiments and it took 48 hours before I saw a change. I hope I don't have to wait 48 hours. So I'm going to do a little video editing and then hopefully before I go to bed, my position has dropped, which is what we would predict if the keyword position mattered in the title. Oh. All right, science. Yay, science. All right, see you in a bit. All right, it's 11:15, which is about 9, 10, 11. It's about 3 hours after I first made the change. Time to see where my product ranks. Let's delete the keyword to force it to search the internet page. And I'm at page 15, which is disappointing. So I'm going to go to bed. Hopefully in 12 hours, maybe my product ranking will tank, which is an odd thing to hope for, but you know, science. I can just undo this. This is a pretty easy change. Tomorrow is a travel day, and then Tuesday is TPT Forward. and I'm hoping to have this video out before TPT Forward because it's a Sunday series and yeah, oh well, life happens. See you in a bit. Okay, it is Monday, July 8th. It is 6:53 a.m. I'm a little bit bummed because I had a quick peek on my phone. If I go to the keyword ranking tool, let's make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. All right, I'm going to get rid of TPT Seller to reset the search page. And now I'm going to reconnect it by typing TPT search. And my product is, oh, not at all because I typed the wrong keyword. I'm going to type TPT Seller. There we go. And I'm at position 16. Well, that was anticlimactic. So after all of that time, moving the keyword from the front of the product title to the end changed my position from 15 to 16. And that could easily be due to noise, like another product entering into the space above me. Or maybe it's because of the TPT product title change. Questions drive innovation. So right now I'm working on a new version for this keyword rank tool. It's called the Yellow Moth update. It's not out right now. But what it allows us to do is track specific product URLs to see if they show up or not. Now there's an SEOTpreneur menu up here. When I click on it, I can reload the data and copy the position data into my tracking page. So it just got rid of the keywords here. And now I pasted in TPT Seller again. It forced a refresh. It's 2:10 in the Eastern time zone. And if I go to the tracking page, if I go to the bottom here, I can see that it's automatically copied over for me the results into the tracking page. In this new Yellow Moth version that's not out yet to the public, I can pull up the results in a pretty little graph here. I'm going to change the product ID to the Ultimate Bundle, and I can check up here. It'll load the image for the current Ultimate Bundle. Now the chart looks pretty blank until I hit this Update Chart button. This is showing me data from July 3rd till today. And really the fun that I started experimenting was between July 7th and now July 14th. And there's not a lot of change. This is position rank 15, position rank 16, position rank 17. But that's not a big change at all. So that's what makes me think that moving the keyword in the position of the title is not a factor. Now, I did try it with this one here, TPT Product Ranking Tool number 10. And I tried putting the keyword at the front and at the back. If I click Update Chart just to refresh the data, so I can really see here before the experiment and after the experiment, the 14th, it's really just going from position 33 to position 34. So it's not really any significant change there. There's no change at all, really. Now, I think I did change the cover titles. Same thing, Update Chart. And this is loading in the data. So this one does have a little bit of a change. Here it is. So I made a change to the product title and it jumped it up to the beginning and it jumped up the rank to -128. But then when I put it back, it hasn't dropped back down yet. And maybe that's because I haven't given it enough time, or maybe it jumped up because this was a freshness update. So for me, this is pretty inconclusive. At this point of the game, I don't think putting the keyword at the front of the title makes a difference from an SEO perspective, but we're all learning here. It's not about being right or wrong about TPT SEO. It's about figuring out the why and the when and the how TPT search works. If you like this sort of deep analysis into TPT SEO and TPT data, please subscribe to the channel. Next Sunday, we're going to be looking at rule number 7, which is the exact match for the keyword phrase and how that impacts TPT search. Is there a benefit to having the exact match for what the teacher is searching for? That's what we're going to talk about next week. See you next time. Have a great week. Bye-bye now.